Hey, welcome back to the Roman Lorenzo channel, and here today, I have a new movie to review. I have The Adventures of Clutch Powers, and so, let's hop into it. The Adventures of Clutch Powers released on the 23rd of February 2010 to DVD, except in South Korea, where the movie was released in theaters and made just under $70,000. The movie would also later make it onto Blu-ray, releasing first in Europe on the 15th of June 2015, and then later in the US on the 4th of June 2019. The movie's production team shares a history with Bionicle, The Legend Reborn, and would also later work on the Hero Factory TV show. And with that, it's time to move out of the development and into the voice actors. The characters of the movie goes as follows. There is Clutch Powers himself, who is voiced by Ryan McPartlin, who hasn't done any other projects of note. Then there's Peg Moring, who is voiced by Yvonne Strahovski, who voices Batwoman in the DC animated movie Batman Bad Blood. Then there's Brick Masterson, who is voiced by Roger Rose, who has voices in Justice League War, Red Dead Redemption 2, and voices Superman in Batman the Brave and the Bold. And finally, there is Bernie Von Beam, who is voiced by Jeff Bennett, who has voices in projects like Batman Caped Crusader, X-Men 97, and Green Lantern the Animated Series. Now, out of the voice actors and into the story. The movie's story goes as follows. Clutch Powers finds himself in an underground cave looking for some power crystals to power Lego City. Then, after picking up the biggest crystal he could find, he gets chased by a rock monster. It turns out that the big crystal was actually the rock monster's child, so Clutch returns the baby and the rock monster gives him a power crystal. Then, he returns to the LEGO headquarters to be introduced to his new team, and then briefed on the situation on the prison planet. So Clutch and his team head to the planet and accidentally leave their ship open, which allows the three big villains to leave the planet. Once the team builds a new ship and gets out, Keld briefs the team on the location of one of the three villains, Malik, so they head over to the planet Ashlar. Once there, Peg goes looking for some tracks that were made by a dragon, Brick focuses on the team's weapons, Bernie works on building a battle cart, and Clutch heads over to find the prince. Once he finds the prince, Clutch has a talk with Prince Varen, and then they go to the battlefield. Once there, the team fights Malik's skeleton army, while Clutch and Varen go fight Malik. But things go south when Malik starts to tempt Clutch about the location of his father, who went missing years ago. And because of that, Clutch and Varen get teleported to a little dangling prison cell, and the rest of the team gets overrun by skeletons and have to make a retreat. But the team picks themselves up and goes back in for round 2, saving Clutch and Varen, which allows them to go back in and fight Malik. With a sword fight later, Varen defeats Malik, and shortly after, gets crowned King Varen. As for Malik, he was imprisoned in the LEGO headquarters, and the team went on their next quest for one of the other villains. And that was a recap of the plot. So, how's the movie's animation? The animation of the movie is completely 3D animated, with some generic textures for the general backgrounds. The main locations like the space prison or the castle are builds made of popular LEGO sets of that time, with some of the sets being included are from the LEGO Power Miner sets, the LEGO City sets, the LEGO Space Police 3 sets, the LEGO Mars sets, and the LEGO Castle sets. Whilst not being the best of animation, it was definitely quite innovative for the future of LEGO movies and TV shows. And with that, what do I like about the movie? There is quite a lot that I like about the movie, the first of which is the building that the characters do. Quite often in the movie, some sort of vehicle or build is destroyed, and that gives Clutch and his team a reason to build something else out of the leftover parts, leading to these quite ingenious scenes that were later used in the LEGO movie. They also used the LEGO sets quite nicely as well. Now I did mention them a little earlier, but I wanted to mention how well they were integrated into the story, keeping a cohesive narrative whilst also adding 5 completely different locations. And that is all the things that I really liked about the movie. So, out of praising the movie and into some criticism, I do have a complaint of the movie, and that is the pacing, having the beginning being quite fast paced, and then when they get to the planet Ashlar the pace slows down, and it still feels like it removes certain scenes. Like, for example, showing Peg dealing with a dragon, and then the next scene you see that dragon, the dragon is helping out the team. Or how Prince Varen doesn't want Clutch's help, then a couple of scenes later, he's going to the battlefield with his army. I just wish that there were a couple of added scenes to help expand on the story, and that is my only real big criticism with the movie. So, out of criticizing and into the possibility of a sequel. Before I get into why there is no proper sequel, I would like to discuss what a Clutch Powers sequel could have been about. The movie had 3 villains break out of prison. There was Malik, who was caught in the events of the first movie. Then there was the Squid Man, who was in the Space Police sets at that time. And there was Omega, who was an original villain and was hinted to be the reason why Clutch's father went missing. I could see there being a second movie where the team captures the Squid Man, and then a third movie where the team defeats Omega and Clutch is reunited with his father. Thankfully, there is some sort of a continuation, but nothing that continues on this story. There was a DVD special feature called Bad Hair Day, which follows Artie getting back Peg's spare hair, and then there was a Legoland 4D theater experience, which follows the team going through Lego City to give Artie his package. And that is all that this Clutch Powers has been in. He was mentioned in the first season of Ninjago as a throwaway line, and then later appearing in Ninjago's 11th season, although having no continuity to this movie. So, why did this movie never get a proper sequel? Well, I've heard a lot of people theorize that it was poor DVD sales, but the fact that almost every kid back then had a DVD of this movie, and the fact that the movie was later re-released onto Blu-ray, says something about the film's physical media success. Instead, what I think happened was the beginning of the Lego Movie's production, which had been an idea for some time and which was greenlit 1.5 years after the release of this film. And I think that Lego silently canned a sequel, and that is a real shame. In conclusion, The Adventures of Clutch Powers is a fine movie. Yes, it is a big advert to buy more Lego, but this is a movie that handles the subject matter with a certain respect, and that makes it a good watch for younger audiences. Hi, thanks for sticking around to the end of the video. This video took a long time to make, so subscribing would be highly appreciated. Special thanks to Mr. Bones for editing this video. If you have any suggestions for a future video, let me know in the comments, and I guess that's all I've got. Bye.